Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/cheating stories, where we have another example of a military wife cheating on her husband. Let's begin. I'm a relative of a cheater, posted by Reddit user MantixMavie.
I am going to start this with I love my sister Audrey. Everyone will have a different name. She is genuinely one of my favorite people. Doesn't mean I agree with her decisions. Back in high school she cheated before and it was high school, so I didn't care, just said gross and moved on. A couple years later she started dating this guy Matt, and he was a super chill guy, basically lived at our parents' house with my sister and even helped with chores, but he was in the military, so we'd only see him for a bit. They got engaged about a year later and he got deployed for 6 months. And let's be honest, no one can just live on their own after 18 immediately, so of course I still lived with my parents and so did my sister. About 4 months before their wedding, my sister would go out and be gone till around 3 to 4 a.m. and tell us she was at D&D. Normally I wouldn't think much of it, but it was like twice a week and we never saw her. I'd see her for all of 1 hour a day sometimes. She'd tell me she went shopping and didn't bring her wallet, cancel plans on us, and basically be sketchy. One day she came home and had this guy with her who I'll call Craig. Craig looked like a skinny acne-filled version of Matt and they were very touchy. I immediately felt uncomfortable. He was helping her with some car problems and cut himself, and she grabbed his hand with both of hers and tried to bring him inside, and I stopped her. Came up with a lie that mom doesn't want strangers in her house unless she met him. That made Audrey not happy. Anyways, around 2 months before the wedding, Matt was able to call, so I called him and asked if he knew about all Audrey's outings and how late she came home, kind of giving my sister the benefit of the doubt. Because again, we really liked this guy she was with. He immediately cut me off and told me that I shouldn't accuse her of cheating and that I was being an asshole. Taken aback, I said fine and moved on. I wasn't upset because he stood up for his girlfriend and believed in her. It was cute, like he really loves her.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
This is where the story begins. 2 months after they got married. Audrey is at work. It's me, my parents, my little sister Brittany, and our youngest brother Adam. You know those moments where mom is so upset the room feels hot and you think you're gonna die? Well, we were sitting in the living room and my mom was getting filled with that bone-chilling rage. My dad, Brittany, and I are all making eye contact to try and figure out who did it. My mother hands her phone to my dad. His face turns to a mixture of rage and sadness. He did some typing, looked at Brittany and said, "Do you have a friend's house you can stay at tonight?" She said yup, grabbed her stuff and left. I asked what's up. My dad looked at me and said Audrey is cheating. I got up and said, "Oh, look at that. I have to be at work and I'll come home later." So I left. I went to work. Not my rage, don't want to get burned for being too close. I came home at 10 p.m. that night. Walked in the front door and I met with not one but two infuriated mothers. Matt's mother was on the couch holding a notebook taking notes. They both look at me. I noticed my sister sitting in an office chair in front of them, makeup running down her face. I have never run away faster in my life. I ran upstairs to change and leave for our neighbor's house. And I found Adam. He had cleaned and mopped the hallway, the bathroom and his room. Started his own laundry and changed his sheets. Here is how our conversation went. Me, dude, Adam, WTF. Him, I dunno man. I hear screaming, crying and more screaming. I am not gonna get in trouble too. I'm covering all my bases. I started laughing so hard and asked him, "Do you wanna leave with me?" He said, "Hell no, I ain't going down there. You're nuts." Put his headphones back in. I quickly changed and leave to my neighbors. My dad was on their couch with 2 bottles of alcohol. I told him, "Hey dad, you forgot something, like you're youngest in a house of angry women." He laughed and informed me he forgot, was too scared and ran away and said he'll pay him as an apology later. He then told me what happened. My mom got an email from Craig's mother informing her she had found mom on Facebook when she discovered that my sister was in fact married. She then included that she wasn't okay with them sleeping together under her roof, so she sent receipts of hotel stays with my sister's and Craig's names on them, pictures of them as a couple, and informed us that when she confronted Audrey, she told him it's okay because her husband may be gay, he isn't. That they were planning to get a divorce after our Aunt Melanie died. We don't have an Aunt Melanie, and that May knew about it. She didn't trust her, so she messaged my mom telling her she was going to call Matt's branch and let them know about the false marriage. Those of you that don't know, that could get him dishonorably discharged for lying on federal paperwork, and my dad sent it to Matt's mom apparently and left. I still remember that night so vividly because I knew I was correct in my suspicion. And now for OP's update. So, this all happened about 2 years ago. The next day Audrey came into my room and told me that this is all done by a crazy guy and she would never cheat. How this guy from work was obsessed with he kissed her and she rejected him. How he made all these fake accounts and emails and Photoshop pictures of her to ruin her life because she didn't love him. She told Matt the same story and how he believed her and how she needs us to believe her, and to prove her love for him she would get a tattoo for him. She came home with an infinity symbol with the words always and forever with feathers on her ankle. She moved out and in with Matt in Texas 3 weeks later, packed all her stuff in her car and had it ready to get shipped to her. This next part happens over the span of 2 months. I don't know what happened first or what order these events happened. Audrey started calling saying he was abusive, that he was keeping her trapped in the housing, that she wasn't allowed to buy anything and, in her words, a little 1960 housewife. And at one point she called me crying and told me he sexually assaulted her and that she was pregnant and all he said was get rid of it. Obviously after that I was shocked and worried, so I texted Matt and asked him how everything was going and he told me that when she got there after they had done the deed, she told him she wanted to change their relationship to platonic and or make their relationship open, and that after that he hasn't touched her and it was stressing him out. He mentioned it would be okay with a girl, but he drew the line at her sleeping with guys, that she kept mentioning this guy. How it was eating him up because he didn't know what to do. I did not mention the abuse or the sexually assault. I then asked him if she was really pregnant. He took a deep sigh and said, "Oh, she told you." She said we wouldn't tell anyone because she wasn't sure if she wanted to keep it or not. At this point I'm confused, because this was clearly very different conversations and as most would do try to talk to your sibling first and be like bro, WTF. So I asked her and she kinda confirmed everything he said and was mad at me that I asked him in the first place. How I didn't trust her so much I had to ask him. My sister was adopted and had a rough childhood. She was adopted in our family at 15 and she has been a pathological liar as long as I've known her. So I'll be honest, I have no grounds and no proof, but I believe it was Craig's baby. My husband has known Matt all his life and I've asked so many questions at this point, but he swears Matt would never do something harmful against any woman. This went on for 2 months and suddenly Audrey has come home. Her stuff was never shipped, her car was never taken to her, her whole life was still at our parents' house. Honestly, I think she planned to come back. She even got her same job and the same place back the next day. We were told it wasn't working out and how they were going to get a divorce. Their marriage lasted all of 6 months, but it legally lasted 2 years. I was told from both parties that the other was refusing to sign the papers. On Christmas last year, I went out drinking with Matt and I told him everything she had told me. He was devastated but then apologized to me and informed me that he was seeing a therapist. He met someone and had enough saved up and bought a house in Alaska. I don't talk to either Matt or my sister often, but I will still consider him family even if he is the dumbest sack of ass I ever met and has the worst case of love blindness known to man. Over the years, my sister had a point in time where she told everyone she had esophagus cancer and how it was lining her heart with fluids, causing her to have pains like a heart attack, and shaved her head. We were never allowed to see any paperwork or go to any doctor's visit, so we don't know if that was true or not. But she met this new guy and my dad swears up and down that he has made her grow more in the past few months than any of the years she's been family. This story always leaves a bitter taste in my mouth because Matt was always sweet, but I'm sure living with my sister brought the worst out of him, making it toxic for everyone involved. At one point my sister and I argued so much I was told I made my parents not want to come home, so I stopped arguing with Audrey. I can't bring myself to hate her and I can't have an honest conversation with her, so I moved across the country with my husband. Now I just get calls about the drama and am not directly involved.
OP, you did your part and so did everybody else. You told him and he still chose to be a doormat. This is agonizingly common in the military. My condolences to your family and Matt's family. None for your sister for being yet another unfaithful military wife, and of course, none for Matt himself because he chose to be a damn donut and simp for a lying cheater. Also, the part about your younger brother mopping the floor and covering his bases, it's absolutely hilarious, man. The kid is going to great places. Definitely a future Giga Chad. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.